So you're running right now. You're running for president
Yeah.
with the Democratic under the Democratic
Yeah.
Party, right?
At the moment.
Okay. And so is it normal that someone is able to run against the incumbent? I want to make this clear from audience, because some audience, I hear words a lot of times and I don't know what they mean, right? So like the incumbent is the guy who's already in office, right?
Yeah.
So if a president has already done one term, then he's the incumbent as he goes up to do the second term, right?
Yeah.
And he has to run against someone who's submitted by the other party.
Well, he ultimately has to run the other party, is going to nominate somebody to run against him.
So the Republicans will nominate somebody to run against.
But if you're a
Democrat,
Democrat, if you're popular within your own party, a lot of times you won't have a challenger from within your own party. So you'll only have to go to the prize fight. You don't have to fight all the belugas who are coming after you. But,
and who determines if they have to fight all the belugas?
Well, it would be, me. I would run against him. But my father ran against Lyndon Johnson when, Lyndon Johnson in 1968.
Mm-hmm.
Lyndon Johnson was an incumbent Democratic president, and my father challenged him. And ultimately, Johnson withdrew. And he pulled out of the way at race, and then my father won the primaries. And he was killed. My father was killed on the last night of the primaries, so June 6th. He won, the last primaries, California, South Dakota, and a couple of others, and he was killed that night. My uncle Ted Kennedy ran in 1980 against Jimmy Carter, who was a president of his own party. It's not uncommon for people to run against a president of their own party. And, I've had a long friendship with Biden. I've known President Biden for at least 40 years.
Oh, wow.
And he has a statue, a bust of my father on the behind him in the Oval Office. If any picture that you have of Biden, there's a bust of my father. You can call it up. Now, and there's 5 members of my family who are working in the administration.
In the Biden administration?
Yeah.
Wow.
At different ways.
Yeah, yeah.
And so...
do you think he'll get the nomination from his party for the 2024?
Well, I think I could beat him in the... you can see in that middle one, the second one from the right up there, that one. There's a bust of my father behind him.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so cool, man. That would be cool if that were my dad.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Do you think that he will get the? Yeah. So I guess I have 2 questions, because some of the process.
I think I can beat him if they give me a fair fight.
Right. Okay. But before that, do you think that he'll get the nomination?
Well, I think I could get the nomination.
Okay.
If they gave me a fair fight.
I see. Do you think that you're currently getting a fair fight?
No.
Why?
Well, because they're doing. The Democratic Party is supposed to be neutral. They're not supposed to choose favorites, but they actually endorsed him a week after he declared. And his campaign is being run out of the Democratic Party office.
Which seems like convoluted, huh?
Yeah, it's not. It's a conflict, and
because the party should be separate from the president, even if they're of the same.
Yeah, they're supposed to be.
Even if they're both Democratic.
Yeah, the party should be neutral and say, look, we're going to be the referees in this fight. It's like if you went to a football game and the referee in the game was wearing the same uniform as the guys you were playing against.
Right, you say, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what they're doing. And what they've done is they've taken the states that voted most strongly against Biden last time around, and they've said, if anybody visits those, if I visit those states, and no vote in that state will count in the election. So if I go to New Hampshire, which I did, any vote that I get in New Hampshire will not count.
Any vote you get to what?
For me. So if I beat Biden in New Hampshire and I win all the delegates, those delegates will not be allowed into the convention.
But how can they just say that? Isn't there like a democratic process that overrides that?
You would think, but actually the party makes its own rules. And there was Bernie Sanders, they did the same thing to Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, they cooked me, man.
And he sued them and said, you guys rigged the game against me. You fixed it. And the court said, yes, they did fix it, but actually it's a private club and they're allowed to fix it. They can make up any rules they want. They can do anything they want. So,
See, this just leans so much more into like this stuff that like people feel like their vote
yeah,
doesn't
there
even
you go.
matter. Court concedes DNC had the right to rig primaries against Sanders.
And that's
actually
Debbie
wrong,
Wasserman Schultz, who,
DNC Chair Debbie Wasserman Schultz for violating the DNC charter by rigging the Democratic presidential primaries for Hillary Clinton against Bernie Sanders.
and she's the one who tried to silence me when I testified before Congress a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
And so anyway,
It just feels like it feels so dirty at every turn.
yeah, I mean, it's bad. To me, it's bad for the country right now because so many people think the whole system is rigged.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, man.
And
If my vote doesn't matter.
and I think both parties should be conducting elections that are incredibly fair. And everybody looks at them and says, okay, this is a model. America's the exemplary democracy for the world.
It should be.
And one thing you can say about America is it has fair elections and every vote gets counted. And,
Yeah, it's starting to remind me of the articles I would read in the papers of like Venezuela, a lot of the Central American countries where they would be there would be coups and stuff, and they would be overriding the process because they thought the elections weren't fair.
or in the Soviet Union, the Communist Party, they said, oh, we're a democracy. But the party would pick the candidate, and that'd be the only guy you could vote for. And that is exactly what they're doing here. They're saying they're saying the good news and the bad news. We have a democracy, but there's only one guy, and everybody's got to vote for him. And it's not.
But do they have the right to do that because he's the incumbent? I understand.
They have the right to do it within the Democratic Party process.
But so what is your path then to really get to the presidential nomination for 2024? Is there a path for you, do you feel like?
Well, if President Biden steps down, the decision kind of has to be made by October 15th because
that's soon.
Yeah, because
you'll know before Halloween.
Yeah, the October 15th, you have to start qualifying in certain states so that you have to declare whether you're a Democrat or an independent or Republican.
Yeah.
And you can't, a lot of people think, well, you can run as a Democrat, and then if you lose everything, then you can just switch to independent and run on independent, but you can't do that. Because a lot of states have sore loser laws that make it so that you have to choose early, and you can't come in, once you've chosen Democrat, you can't switch to independent.
That's fair, because every year they let Odell Beckham Jr. join another team right before the Super Bowl.
And I feel like it doesn't seem fair to anybody.
I get that he's good, but it doesn't seem that fair. So when do you have to? But you've already chosen that you're a Democrat, right? I mean, you've been a lifelong Democrat. Is there a chance that you would run as an independent? Do you look at that ever? And how do you even evaluate that?
Yeah, I mean, if they really shut down the process, we're right now, we're grappling with the DNC, trying to get them to do the right thing. But if they rig the process so that I can't possibly win, which is how it's rigged right now, then I would have to look at other options. I would have to look at running as, maybe outside of the party or something. I don't know exactly what I do. I'm hoping that they'll open up the process and let me run. We polled this week, and if President Biden steps down, I have a pretty clear path to the nomination. My numbers are better than any other Democrats, including the Vice President, Kamala Harris. And then if he stays in and they give me a fair fight, I think I can beat him.
Yeah. Wow. So it's tough to figure out. You're just navigating the space, huh? Who's ahead in the national polls?
He beats me among Democrats in the national polls.
No, but if you could get a third of people to switch that were Republicans and a
if
third
I
that were Democrats,
that's the thing, is that those polls aren't looking at the Republicans who want to vote for me or the independents.
Okay. If you can't get it run this year, would you run in the next one?
No,
Are you thinking that far ahead?
No.
Okay, you're not.
No, I'm not thinking all about that.
Okay. Some people say that the Republican Party set you up to take. Did you hear about this?
Yeah, I hear that I'm like a stalking horse for Trump, and all I can say is,
I don't believe that, Bobby. I'm just
but-
asking you.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
believe
yeah.
that.
Well, you should ask me. I mean, you shouldn't do it publicly like you just did. But
Really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, okay.
No, you should ask me.
Yeah. I didn't.
Here's the thing. Here's the problem with that. First of all, if the Democrats make rules that say I cannot win, and then they complain about me running somewhere else, it's like it's like a guy who murders his parents and then throws himself on the mercy of the court because he's an orphan.
Yeah.
They're trying to get public sympathy for a problem that they created.
I hate when I see Bananas Foster on the menu. That's how it goes. But no, I see what you're saying. It's almost like they're playing two cards that are trying to do two different things, but one of them kind of concedes that there's some truth in the other one.
Yeah, and then the other thing is that I take more votes from President Trump than I do from President Biden.
Right. So why would that help them?
Yeah, it's not helping them.
Yeah.